Hey everyone, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Here to follow up on Mezo's breaking news story. As I'm sure you all know by now, we have a new head coach. Brian Daboll is let go. I'm never happy for a person to lose their job. So personally, I feel bad for Brian Daboll. But as a Giants fan, it was time. It was clearly time. I think it was time at the end of last year, and it was definitely time now. So Mike Kafka is the new interim head coach. I don't know how I feel about that. Mike Kafka hasn't done enough that we could, observe and judge to say whether we are in good hands or not. But we'll see. He's got the job now. Let's see what he does with it. He's had some interviews at other places. I understand, was a finalist for the Seattle job last year. So obviously there are other people as well who think he is at least a decent candidate. But now he's our coach. Let's see what he does. So I have a few thoughts I'd like to share about that. First and foremost, I'm curious about how much leeway he actually has as the now interim head coach. In other words, can he fire Shane Bowen? Now, I don't think he's going to fire him today. I don't think he's going to fire him this week. That would be kind of awkward. He just got the job himself. But I do think if he goes into Joe Shane's office and or Mara's office next week and says, guys, look, I think Shane Bowen is the reason that Brian Daboll got fired. I don't want him to get me fired too. I think he is a problem and needs to go. And I'm auditioning not just for this job with the Giants, but for 31 other teams as well. And I don't want that albatross hanging around my neck. Shane Bowen is not a good defensive coordinator, and I don't want to be taken down by his bad defensive play calling. I can imagine that Shane and Mara will say to him next week, you're right, because we're considering whether or not to bring you back next year. If you think that Bowen will hurt your chances to keep this job, much less find any other jobs, then yes, you have the leeway to make that change. And I hope he calls Antonio Pierce. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I think that if I'm Mike Kafka, this is Shane Bowen's last week as defensive coordinator for the Giants. And I would be already on the phone through back channels reaching out to Antonio Pierce to see if he's willing to come. Okay. Another question I have, kind of I don't know, interpretation question. As you know, the Giants would receive 2 third-round picks, one in each of the next 2 drafts, if Mike Kafka gets hired away as a head coach, or at least if he had gotten hired away as a head coach before yesterday. What I don't know is if that still applies to an interim head coach. Mike Kafka and any other minority employee of a team that gets hired as either head coach or GM by another team, the team he left gets 2 third-round picks. But the language that I found online clearly excluded head coach, but it didn't, make any reference to the word interim. So I don't know if interim head coach still qualifies us for the 2 comp picks or not. I'm guessing it might not. If any of you know that, please, drop a comment, let me know that. I'd be happy to hear what you were able to dig up. So again, that's not a huge deal right now because I'm hoping Mike Kafka does a great job and he's our coach for the next 10 years and we win 5 Super Bowls. But looking ahead, if he isn't brought back next year and he does get the job somewhere else, I hope we still get the comp picks. Okay. A lot of people have been talking about potential new head coaches if Kafka doesn't get the job next year, right? If he just finishes out this year and then we're looking to hire someone else. There's been a lot of people shout out to, Talking Giants and Marshall Green and Mike Too Nice and all kinds of people who are throwing around names. Marshall Green threw out 20 names as possible candidates to be the head coach next year. I'm going to talk about a couple of them now. The first name on the list for me, if this person is available, we absolutely positively need to go after him, is of course Mike Tomlin. We're all hearing rumors that Mike Tomlin might be out as the Steelers coach at the end of the year. If Mike Tomlin gets let go by the Steelers, we should not let the sun rise the next morning without his name on a contract here. He, I think, would be an amazing hire for us. So I'm not rooting for him to lose his job. Again, you never want to see a human being get fired. But if he happens to be let go by the Steelers, we should make him priority number 1. John Harbaugh in Baltimore is, there's rumors about the same thing, that he might be let go by Baltimore. If Tomlin is not available and or doesn't accept our offer, and if John Harbaugh is also available, then that would be the next person I'd go after. So those 2 are the coaches that are in place now that conversations about them possibly being available are rumors are spreading all over the league, have been all year. Those are two I go after. The other three names I'm going to mention are Steve Spagnuolo, Lane Kiffin, and Mike McCarthy. I'll go in reverse order. I do not want Mike McCarthy. I just don't think he's ever been that good a coach. I think he's been good situations. He's been around some really good quarterbacks and good, teams. But I don't think he's been the reason that those teams were good. And I think that would be a mistake to hire Mike McCarthy. I don't want Lane Kiffin. I know he was Jackson Dart's college coach at Ole Miss, but frankly, I think Jackson Dart looks better now on the Giants than he did in college. He looked good enough in college to get drafted, obviously, but I think he isn't going to be better on the Giants just because his college coach now is here. So if you're doing that thinking that he's going to unlock Jackson Dart, I A, don't think that would happen. B, don't think it's necessary. Jackson Dart is going to be just fine. We don't need his college coach. And yes, Lane Kiffin did have a brief stint as coach of the Raiders. He lasted a year and a few games into the second year. And I don't mean to suggest that he can't be a good head coach again, but I just haven't seen enough from Lane Kiffin, even in college, to make me think that he's going to be the next great NFL coach. Steve Spagnuolo is intriguing. He also didn't do so great as a head coach in the NFL when he got that shot, but he's one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. He's probably going to go into the Hall of Fame as the first defensive coordinator to go into the Hall of Fame, having won so many rings both here and in Kansas City. But I don't think he wants to leave Kansas City. He's got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Super Bowl appearances every other year or so. I don't know why he would give that up. If he would I be intrigued? Yes, he would make our defense alone much better. And I think he knows what he's learned from his first stint that he needs to bring in, people that really support him on the offensive side of the ball. So yeah, I think that would be, of the people I've mentioned, the one name I would go after of the last three people I mentioned. I don't want McCarthy. I don't want Kiffin, but I would be happy to give Spags a look. So that's what I think. Couple of quick roster moves I think Kafka should make. I think Jameis Winston should be the quarterback this week now that Jackson Dart is in the concussion protocol. I don't need to see any more from Russell Wilson. Don't need it. Jameis Winston, please. And I don't want Dart to play this week, even if he clears a concussion protocol. Let the young man rest a little while, get his head cleared. I mean, he's got a long and promising future. Let's not risk it for 1 week. Chris Manhertz should play more. He is our best blocking tight end by far. He only played 3 snaps this Sunday. I think he played 2 the week before that. We're struggling to run the ball. Let's bring in the better blocking tight end. Theo Johnson is a, hit or miss receiving tight end with a lot of upside as receiving tight end, but he's not a very good blocking tight end. He needs to come off the field more on running plays, let Manhertz get on the field. We need to activate Turbo Miller, period. Our running game is not doing well, and we're 2-8. What is the point of not bringing in the fastest giant since Rocky Thompson? That man is electric. Other teams know that. Get him the ball in his hands 2 or 3 times a game, and then fake it to him 2 or 3 times a game. Let's see if the other teams react to that, and maybe Theo Johnson has opened up the scene because you faked the toss sweep to Turbo Miller. Get the man on the field. Wan'Dale Robinson is playing too many snaps. He's 5'8", $180. He shouldn't have played, 60 snaps a game. We have other receivers. Some of them are bigger body guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey, who needs to be active and playing. We need to get bigger body receivers on the field a little more often. Evan Neal needs a few snaps. I don't think Evan Neal is very good at all, but if we're having trouble running the ball and we have a 6'7", 350-pound man on the bench, put him on the field on 3rd and 1, and let's try to move the pile. Let's at least see what he has before the season ends. I don't want to wait till he's got shorts and T-shirts on in the summer again to see if he's any good. Maybe Marcus Bowe needs to get some snaps at guard. Our interior offensive line is doing a decent job pass blocking, but a very bad job run blocking. And we need to see if Bowe can perhaps replace John Runyan at left guard. And finally, Graham Gano has to go. It's got to go. A 2-8 team should not have a 40-year-old or almost 40-year-old $6 million a year kicker. That's ridiculous. Who misses 6 games a year? So let's move on to a younger kicker. Let's find out now, while we're still bad, who our long-term answer is going to be at kicker. I heard we brought in Ben Sauls last week. I've been pounding the table for him. Hopefully we bring him back this week and sign him. And let's see if Ben Sauls, who hasn't missed an extra point in 4 years, can be the guy that we move forward with, so that by the time we're good, we have a good kicker in place, an affordable, young, good kicker in place. Anyway, that's what I think. I want to know what you think about what I think. Grab that like button, drop a comment. You know the drill. Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas, all about Big Blue. And I'm out.
Big shout out to El Marquis Productions, the talent behind the music and production here at Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Their beats bring energy and excitement to every episode. El Marquis' skills in mixing, mastering, and creating top quality sound make the podcast come alive each week. For your own projects, check out elmarquisproductions.com and take your sound to the next level.